Hello and welcome to the Auto Guide Show. Today, Kyle drives a very important EV. There's a lot of very powerful cars that just got introduced, and we also drive a couple SUVs. But first, a word from our sponsor. eBay has reinvented car buying. From click to curb, everything is covered. With their new secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. And eligible vehicle purchases are backed by up to $100,000 in protection. This is what modern car buying looks like. Get your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. Okay, so starting things off this week, Kyle, you just got back from driving what is probably one of the most important EV debuts this year.
Yeah, it is, right? And it's funny because we started the year and we didn't really know anything about it. And now we've driven it. So it was the 2026 Nissan Leaf. And Mike, you got to look at this when it first debuted and got all the important information. And this was my first time even seeing it in person. I gotta say, now that my review is live, which you can go read on the website, and the video should be coming very soon, it's very good. It's wild. So Nissan's done this a few times now where it's heavily modified an existing car and presented it as a new model, like the Z or the Pathfinder. And they've proven really, really impressive, right? This isn't that. This is not the old platform. It is the Ariya's platform shrunken down. But like the amount of value in this is kind of wild, right? So the starting price is $31,000 in the US with destination, and you're getting 303 miles of range, cloth seats, a crossover body, as we both agree. It's just a hatchback. It has less ride height or less ground clearance than before.
Yeah, and it's lower to the ground roof-wise too. So yeah, an interesting definition. But there's also an even more affordable version coming down the road.
Yeah,
right?
that's the thing. Is like that's for the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. The other one, which they wouldn't give a timeline on, which is very frustrating, will have a 52 kilowatt hour battery pack and a 175 horsepower motor. So you lose 40 horsepower and a little bit of battery. But my guess is it's still going to end up with over 200 miles of range. And if it's $26,000 instead of 30, like that's a real good deal for people who are using a car just for short distance driving, right? So sadly, they didn't have that $31,000 one here at the first drive. It was only the Platinum Plus, which is pretty typical for first drives. We usually drive the top trims. It's just with a car that's so focused on price, I was really hoping I'd get to drive the base one. But even in top trim, it's $40,000. You get a very cool electrochromatic roof. You get power adjustable driver's seat, a head-up display, tons of safety equipment as standard. And it's a really good, quiet car. I think that's the thing, right? Is we always talk about EVs being, saving the world and all the green aspect. But look, no, it's just, how nice it is to drive a car that's an affordable one that is really quiet and smooth to drive. Like, this is a part of the segment part of the market that is full of noisy gas engines or droney CVTs. This has none of that.
And it's just, and calling it a crossover, price wise, it's kind of in that category. Like it's not like a apples to apples price, but it's not far off.
Yeah, so comparing it, I like to compare it to the CR-V because the CR-V is one of the best-selling SUVs on the market. Everyone knows it. It's a known quantity. This is a little bit smaller. You do get a little less range than you would with a gas CR-V, but it's way nicer inside. And the one thing, this is a car that's a great example that spec sheet measurements are not everything, right? And we've both said that numerous times over the years. So the rear legroom on this officially is under 32 inches. Sounds tight. Sounds like coupe small. No, it's fine. I sat back there. It's just it's measured in a way that like the carve out of the seat isn't really taken into account. So it's actually fine for adults. I wouldn't want to go cross country in the thing, but I mean, otherwise,
Yeah,
it's it's just a really good vehicle. I know I just keep repeating myself, but I'm really impressed by this.
that's good. Can't wait to try it myself.
Yeah.
So moving on to good vehicles, we took sort of round two of looking for our new family car at my household, and this time we drove the 25 Taos, something you drove first drive and I hadn't yet.
Hmm.
We almost bought the 23 Taos when we bought our Crosstrek 3 years ago, but the dual clutch was the deal breaker. It was just too jerky around the city for what kind of vehicle this was. So now it's got an
Hmm.
8-speed auto, and that's completely solved. And they also gave it more power and updated the styling, which I kind of like. The front, maybe I'm not sold on, but the rear for sure.
Yeah.
And then inside, updated tech, which is pretty much the only downside. This thing has lots of power. It handles well. It gives a good ride. Like I said, it looks really nice inside and out. Inside, especially, it looks a class higher than a lot of its competition.
Hmm.
Rear seat and the cargo area are big for its class. It's just that Volkswagen infotainment system that we've talked about. I mean, at least this one has some hard buttons, so yay there. But it's still confusing in the menu setup. My wife, who drove it a lot, as she'd be the primary driver of this car, was having issues with the Bluetooth, like I do. Um, I don't like that the climate controls went full touch slide. It's like they're separate, yes, but then there's still touch, which is like kind of defeats the purpose down there.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to clarify for listeners and viewers, Mike, so this is number two. You guys have not made a decision yet.
No, not yet. We did
Okay.
the Corolla Cross Hybrid, then we did this, and then the third one will be another Crosstrek, but the new one, because it's actually a new generation compared to ours, even though it's only 3 years. It's, I mean, they all look similar, but they are different. The big difference with the new one is it's more rounded and it's got the horizontal infotainment. But that's for another day. But with the Taos,
Mhm.
very impressed. I mean, other than those little things there, it's just so easy to drive and it's just so refined. Like it's pure Volkswagen where they're in a segment and price wise they're competitive, yet their vehicles feel a little more premium. It may be missing a thing here or there that gets them to that point, but overall package, it just reminds me of the Jetta. Like
Yeah.
it's an alternative to a regular compact car. This is an alternative to a regular compact SUV.
And if you were going to get it, would you get it in the green?
I would, but I don't think we would in the family.
Yeah.
It's funny though. We both agreed few cars can pull off green, yet that one does.
Yeah. It looks good.
All right, switching gears to something completely different.
Yes.
We reported on this a while ago due to trademarks and rumors, and it's official. Ferrari has brought back the Testarossa, which, I mean, they didn't bring back the old car to like modernize, hot rod it or something. It's a name that for a certain age of demographic that's probably now in their key market of buyers, those in their 50s, 60s, maybe even 40s that grew up with the Testarossa being their poster car. The name brings back memories. I don't think it looks anything like a Testarossa.
That's the thing that I was waiting to say is there's no hint of Testarossa to the shape, and the fact that they showcased it in a color other than red. Look, I don't want to critique Ferrari for that because I'm glad that they're embracing other colors, but for Testarossa, I yeah.
Well, and calling it a color is a bit of a stretch because it's gray. I see what they try to do on the front because Testarossa had pop-up headlights like everything did back
Mhm.
then.
Mhm.
So they try to give it that look with the way the bumper's out, but the hood's pretty much the only thing that I kind of get. But even still, like even on the pop-up headlights, it had that very sort of flush. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Flush front end with the marker lights and whatnot below, and they could have given that style here. They didn't, but regardless of the name, it is a ridiculously powerful, over 1,000 horsepower hybrid out there that will do 0 to 60 in just over 2 seconds because that's what we need, and it's going to be mind blowing. But I mean, if Lamborghini brought back the Countach, why not?
So looking at it, I should point out too, like the image that we're using for the video stream, it hides that the lower spoiler juts out in a very like prominent wedge shape, just like the nose. And so in profile, or like any time you rotate the nose around a bit, you get a little bit more of the 80s feel, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, the rest of the car, like the intake on the side, has nothing to do with the old Testarossa. the back, nothing. Like it's
No, I get
I
it's for aero and cooling, but it's
yeah,
almost, I wouldn't say it's F50 either. I can't think of the car that I'm thinking of from Ferrari, but yeah. Um, and in fairness, if you go to their website, they do have yellow and red, so you can see
they
the
do.
more Ferrari colors. But yeah, so that's I think what I used the head-on shot. It's the only one that kind of somewhat, if you squint, resembles it, but
Yeah.
otherwise, it's yeah.
Look, I know Ferrari, if for whatever reason you're listening, I know I'm not your target audience. But I have a hard time telling any of the modern Ferraris apart. That's the thing, especially the mid-engine ones. They've all just kind of blurred together. And I wish there was
Well,
more differentiation. But
yeah, aero and downforce, everything needs
yeah.
to have the optimal shape, which is one shape. So,
Yep.
speaking of aero and downforce,
Yeah.
something completely different. So, I drove a couple weeks ago the Escalade, the brand, well, not mid-cycle refresh
Yeah.
2025 Cadillac Escalade Platinum four-wheel drive. So, this is the Sport Platinum. Sorry. So, it's basically top line. It's got
Yep.
everything you could ever want in it, plus a couple extra options. I know this car gets a lot of flack, or SUV, and I get it, but it gets flack from people who would never even consider buying one to begin with. So it's like a commuter ripping on Porsches and Corvettes. It's like it's not your wheelhouse. What Cadillac has done with this vehicle over the decades, because it is their bread and butter, it's always been the number one seller. It's sort of what kept the brand alive during some low points in the late 90s, early 2000s. They keep refining it. It's still, you can still feel the truck to it. It is a body on
Yeah.
frame, just like its competitor Sequoia, QX80, Navigator. But we were talking about when they ditched the solid rear axle, the amount of rear seat space you've gained that can actually have adults in the third row, and the refinement to the ride. I mean, if you drive on regular roads, it feels so smooth and premium, and you wouldn't even remember that it has pickup truck roots to its general chassis. You get on some broken dirt or really choppy pavement, then you start getting that sort of bounce that just can't, that like a Range Rover or a BMW X7, for instance, won't have. But
Mhm.
they're not also workhorses like this. Like I know the tow ratings are similar, but I'm honestly gonna feel way more comfortable consistently towing 8,000 pounds with an Escalade over an X7 or a Range Rover. And for their demographic, which are the people who need a work truck, or maybe I should say want a work truck look, but super fancy. It's what it's always been. It's still up there. Like it costs more than the three main competitors I mentioned, but it's also got ridiculous technology in there, like the power open and close doors, which sound like such a lazy gimmick, but I totally was using all the time, especially when my son and wife were getting in. And there's sensors so they won't open into doors. And the Air Ride Plus Magna Ride, like I said, it keeps it fairly composed in corners for
Mhm.
what it is. It's got a massive hood that you can't see anything out front of, but you know what? So does a QX80 and so does a Navigator. It's just sort of the baby big rig look is still in.
Yeah, I think as someone who lives in the city and so does rag on these things once in a while, even though I drove the Escalade IQ recently, I think the thing is like when you see it being used for something like that, like as someone doing all their driving in the city, you're just like, that can't be good. That can't be fun or enjoyable. It's probably just super stressful. But you're right. Like if I need a big luxury SUV, like say I go up to the cottage all the time in the summer, like the Escalade does a really good job now, and it's closed the gap against the unibodies while still keeping the truck benefits. And I think the
Yeah.
facelift looks good. I'm less sold on 24-inch alloys.
That's the thing though. Like that's the new thing. I was on their EVs
Yeah.
too. They're actually from the IQ. They've taken a couple of things from the IQ and their other
Hmm.
vehicles, like the 55-inch pillar to pillar to dash. That the car's so wide, it's 55 inches. Isn't actually pillar to pillar. They have to bookend it with speakers. Speaking of which, I had the executive second row, so I had 40 speakers in my vehicle because there are headrest speakers everywhere and screens for each middle row passenger and a screen for the passenger front. But to your point about out of place, yeah, like a lot of people, if you live in a city or even like suburbia, you're like, this doesn't make sense. But I know we've referenced this show too many times on the episode on this podcast, but like watch Yellowstone or watch something based in Texas, like Ram 3500s and things like this. Like that's where they're designed for.
Yep.
Just
Yep, I did not
huge open space.
understand the stereotype about Texas, like specifically San Antonio. and trucks. And trucks are like the Camry there. But if you haven't been, no, it's actually the case. Like trucks are just everywhere. And so, yeah, this makes sense.
If you live in areas where half the county roads are not maintained very well, like you need something that can take the abuse. So anyway, we're getting long on time, so we'll get to our last story here, and it's another well-known name, but this one isn't making a comeback. This one never left, but it's got more power than ever. We're talking the 911 Turbo S.
The first 700 horsepower production 911, which feels a little funny to say, like it's the most powerful one ever when Corvette's dropping 1250 now.
And the Ferrari we just talked about is 1,000. And
so
but Porsche is the best manufacturer, I think, in history of performance per pony. Their cars have always been way down on power compared to like the key rivals, yet on the track they do just as well or better.
Yeah, this thing shaved like 14 seconds off the previous Turbo S's time on the Nürburgring. That's more than horsepower. That's other stuff too. And so, like the Corvette, this is a hybrid. It's not a hybrid in the same way as the Corvette, though. This is the T-hybrid setup that is in the GTS, except now there's two. Because of course there are, right? So that's the thing. It's the 3.6 liter flat six, but now there are two turbos. So it's 701 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, quicker to 60 or 62 miles per hour than a Bugatti. And it's a little bit heavier. It's gained some weight because of course it did, but it's still four-wheel drive. It gets the little the vertical slats in the front intakes like the GTS. And then otherwise, it's a turbo. You get the intakes at the rear axle, and it's pretty standard expected stuff, right?
Yeah, the 0 to 62, like knowing 911 turbos in the past and S's, you could probably do that 50 times in a row, and the car will be fine. Porsche has nailed ridiculously fast launches and consistent and durable ones. The thing I like the most about this write-up, and I'm hoping, I haven't driven this one, I haven't driven one in a while, but the direction they're going, it seems, is Porsche realizes like the 911 Turbo was the top dog forever. It was like, this is the most ridiculous, powerful performance vehicle. They realized this because of weight and four-wheel drive, and everyone, like, they're so expensive on every luxury. This has kind of become the ridiculously fast Grand Tour because they know the hardcore sports person, track person wants the GT3 RS, and it will actually, the GT2, the last one, will outrun this still. So I'm happy they're kind of making this maybe a little softer and about livability, ridiculous power, because that's sort of where it's gone. So good on them recognizing that, not trying to be like, hey, it's got hardcore track stuff, but it weighs 500 pounds more than a GT3.
Yeah. I think that's that's always been the 911 strength, right? Is there's so many flavors, and we make fun of it like, oh, there's 24 different variations, but they all serve a particular niche. So
like this is like the Corvette E-Ray. Like this is, I don't have the money for either, but this is mine because this is the everyday livable, ridiculous supercar. Whereas I don't hit the track and I have, passengers that don't want their kidneys exploded over the smallest little bump on the road. So good on Porsche. Well, that wraps up the news and reviews on the Auto Guide show brought to you by eBay Motors. We are going to take a longer break here because we have a special guest, someone who's been doing our job and in this industry for a long time. And then I will have Colum on to talk F1, and then Kyle will be back with me to talk about what's next.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. It's all thanks to their new secure purchase. Ever try to buy a car and end up in a parking lot with a stranger on some blind trust? Or spend half the day at a dealership talking to pushy salespeople and signing paperwork? Or maybe worst of all, wait hours at the DMV just to transfer the title? That era is over. For years, eBay has been the go-to for gearheads, collectors, and DIYers. Because whatever you're into, from classics to SUVs and trucks to imports, eBay's got it. And now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your next ride, it's where you can buy it, start to finish. Sellers and titles are verified, paperwork is handled by experts, and payments are traceable and digital, so you know exactly who you're dealing with and exactly what you're getting. Plus, you can finance, insure, and register your vehicle all in one place. No more hours at the dealership, no more trips to the DMV. Get your vehicle, plates, and paperwork shipped to your door ready to drive. And it's all part of one seamless process designed to feel as easy as buying anything else online. And eligible vehicles purchased on eBay are backed by up to $100,000 in purchase protection. Thinking about selling a ride? Secure Purchase makes that simple too, because you know your buyer and their funds are verified. If you still owe on your car, the financing payoff is fully integrated, so you're not chasing paperwork or waiting on checks to clear. And with Secure Purchase, you get paid fast, and you're not going to be stuck chasing no-shows or answering the fifth, still available messages. This is what modern car buying looks like. Skip the DMV, skip the sketchy meetups. Buy it on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, and eBay subsidiary. All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a very special guest that many of you may know. If you could just introduce yourself.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Mike Spinelli. I have been an automotive journalist and content executive, I guess you want to call it, for a bunch of years. I started Jalopnik 21 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. Also co-founded Drive, the YouTube channel that went to Time Inc. And did a bunch of stuff we could talk about. But yeah, just been hanging around for long enough, and you just end up doing stuff if you hang around. Hanging around is part of the is definitely a strategic advantage, I think.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I started, I remember I knew who you were, and a lot of anyone that was doing this job did, because Jalopnik was sort of at its height at the time, or getting there, and we would meet on trips and stuff. And now I feel like I'm the old guy that's been around for 15 years, whereas I used to be like that young new person on the trips. But I hung around, right? You hang around, you get to see doing it.
It's really funny because I was having this conversation with I forgot who, but it was when we started out. Jalopnik was one of the only digital first publications that were on the trips back then. And so it was all just old guys my age now were, but they were newspaper guys, and they were like, you bloggers, and you never fact check, and you're always spouting off on your garbage and this and that. And it was funny because now it's like the creators are coming in and doing a very similar thing that we did back then. And they're looking at us going, yeah, who reads?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I remember those days. I remember going on some trips and it'd be like some guy from some tiny town's local radio station. You'd be like, this guy's here? For like 3,000 listeners maybe. But yeah, times have changed.
Yeah, I think that you just said something that's interesting, because I think it's still about relationships, right? So the reason why those guys were on the trip back then was they had long-standing relationships with PR people. And there is a kind of, I would stop short of calling it a camaraderie, because if you're doing your job right, you have that relationship where you can ask hard questions and still have a drink afterwards. Because I think this is something that I think a lot of young creators coming up don't really understand. And we sort of live in a world where those kinds of relationships can easily be spun into something bad. And you can easily also, on the other side, get really too used to somebody else paying the check when you're doing that. This is a whole other thing. But those relationships were the reason why those guys were still coming, even though their newspapers circulation was dwindling, or they didn't have the audience they used to, but they did have the relationships, and that meant something. And it still kind of does. And that's why you see sort of a similar thing happening now.
Well, I mean, we're a prime case. Our viewership went way down just before the COVID period. And unfortunately, that's when Kyle started, and he came in at the burn down infrastructure, but he got to know everyone. And then I came back and I knew a lot of people. And because of those relationships, we kept getting access, and now we've kind of built back up. So yeah, it's important. It's like I have a friend who's a sports reporter, and it's the same thing. You got to ask the questions to the athletes and the managers, but if you burn them, they won't let you in the clubhouse. So you need to walk that line.
Yeah, you got to be fair. I mean, and I think that's the part about having a relationship with them, where you can text them when when you've got to deal with the hard thing that happens. Some people don't ever deal with the hard thing that happens, and that's then it feels like, they're just sort of there for the ride. But yeah, I mean, that's the point of those relationships. I mean, it's funny. I mean, we could talk about where journalism has gone, right, or how it's changed, but at the end of the day, it comes down to something that we're seeing, right, less and less of. It's that the algorithms are supporting conflict, and it's very difficult from the PR side to deliver a productive response to something when you're just crapping on them all day, so like there are things about playing the game that are positive, and there are things that can easily turn into you just being a mouthpiece for what they do.
Yeah, and it's such a unique aspect of journalism, like the automotive side too, right? Like we go on these trips, and an automaker foots the bill, and so a lot of people ask questions about that. I've been asked by friends who are unfamiliar with the industry, oh, like, do they not like it when you say something bad about their car? I'm like, no, the good ones, the good PR people understand. They understand that all products have weaknesses, even though every presentation I've been at for the last year calls a car no compromise. Every car has compromise, and that's like part of the plan. And a good PR person understands when you're critical.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because the thing that makes what we do entertaining is often that car looks like garbage, or that why did they pick this why did they do this thing, right? Which seems so stupid. They're stupid. They did this thing, right? They designed in a flaw. But I mean, really, if you're, I think that's the problem is that you're talking about algorithms, but also what people want to hear is because they're fans of cars, and there are things about cars that they like and don't like, and they want to bring those things up to the fore. Now, you as a journalist hanging around with engineers, which is what you should be doing, may know exactly why that compromise was made, because it's a cost issue, or it's a product development issue or product planning issue in some way that, and I think I've always tried to bring that into whatever I was doing. And that's why, those of us who sort of have been doing this a long time, the highlight of those trips is talking to engineers, because I want to know why they made those decisions. And they're not always forthcoming, because those decisions a lot of them come from policies that we don't even, like the rake of a windshield has to be a certain angle, because that's policy. Like, there are all kinds of things that are corporate policy. There are all kinds of things that are, regulations policy, government stuff. And then there are, decisions made over costs and things. We're looking at tariffs and stuff now. Costs are, it's even harder to product plan at this point. But those are the things that are boring about what we do. So we try to, like, you go to, you write an article for Jalopnik back in the day, and if you're not, you got to be a little bit more spicy than that. So I always tried to find a way to work those realities into the thing and try to really find out why they made that decision. And it's, it's the hardest part of this job, I think.
Yeah, I took a hiatus for 6 years and worked for an OEM, and you get a lot of perspective in there, learning the back end politics of, like I said, the head office to the regional offices, and there's a lot of decisions that are made. And to your point about people want to read like the spicy articles, we had Matt Farah on many months ago, and he was saying how on his YouTube channel, if he just kept trashing cars, he'd get tons of views, but then he wouldn't get the cars. So it's why he's moved on to other ventures, because he's hit that point of what do you do, and being fair is so important. I had a vehicle that I was the first person to drive it, fresh off the shipping container. I noticed there's oil in my driveway. I contacted the PR rep, and someone in a factory somewhere forgot to put a plug in. It's like, that's not something I need to rip on. That happens to every manufacturer at some point. But if my infotainment system crashes 8 times during my review,
Right.
that's going in. But some people will be like, this manufacturer's terrible. It leaks oil. It's like,
Right.
a Toyota could do that. Aston Martin could do that. Like anything. Like it's some guy somewhere just didn't pay attention for 1 minute.
Oh yeah. And also like if you've, it's trust anyway. So if you hang around and they see you every time that, that there's a launch and you're there asking questions, when you ask why they made a decision, they may be more forthcoming if they know who you are. And then the other thing is you can certainly make criticisms of all kinds of things, ergonomic decisions and all kinds of stuff. And I know why they may have done it as an engineering choice, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's an annoying feature of a car. Toyota for years and years, their infotainment was crap. And like, I know why, I know the sort of the development cycle that they were on, and they weren't at the point where that thing was coming out, the new stuff was coming out yet. But, oops, so what? Like people who buy cars don't care. So that's ultimately the thing is like, you kind of have to, even if you know why, you still have to call it out. And also the other thing is that once they know who you are, they ask what you think. And at the end of a drive, I mean, we've all, I'm sure, had engineers or product planners or somebody ask like sincerely what we think of the thing. And they do take those things into account. If we're not only fair, but we show that we know the product and we know, the industry. And it's about credibility, ultimately. But, you still have to be spicy though. You just have to, because you'll lose your audiences they'll just go away, because there's nothing interesting unless you're doing commodity content that is bottom of the funnel, where like you're about to go to buy a car and you do some research to, that kind of stuff. But what we do is mostly entertainment anyway. So you got to really find a way to be saucy as well.
Yeah, I've always compared it to, I went to school for graphic design, and I always found graphic design interesting because it was like the blend of art and information, and you have to there's a purpose. And I feel like what we do is entertainment, but also education. And there's that blend, and you have to find the right balance all the time. And every outlet has a different blend. Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And design is a really good metaphor for it, because, design is entertainment as well. And it's also conveying information, right? I mean, there's all kinds of information that needs to be conveyed. And the other thing is and sports reporters go through this too. If you're a fan, it used to be that you couldn't show that you were a fan of something, right? Because it made you, it was sort of revealing a bias of some kind. Mm-hmm. But now I think people trust you more if you're a fan, right? So if you're like a fan of Mazdas, let's say, just sort of, or whatever, rotary, Mazda rotaries, but like there's nothing that you can't really forget about them. But like if you're a fan of a car brand and you bring that to what you're writing, and it can really enhance it. And so I think that's one thing that we've learned over the years of, my original journalism professors would have punched me in the face for that. Whereas now, like the audience wants to know that they're interacting with somebody who is a human being, right? And has sort of throwing their biases on the table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, people who pretend they don't have biases are lying.
Right. Yeah. And I think but the audience knows that. And I think that's the interesting thing about now, right? Is that if you want to argue, there are a million opportunities all day long, right? So what we're doing is more of having a conversation with the audience than ever before, right? It used to be, you're up here. I went to I went to journalism school. I know the training. I did my reporting. You want to see my notes? Oops, you can't see them because you're not allowed. All of that stuff. And I think that's where Gawker was an interesting training ground for me because it wasn't about traditional journalism, and good or bad. I think there's probably a whole show in figuring out what their impact on journalism in general. But what we did was we threw open our notebooks is the thing that Gawker wanted, right? It's not what the story is. It's like, what else is the story? What are the other things about the thing that you're covering that reporters would talk to each other about at the bar after the thing, right? So that I think is sort of where the audience has moved to, right? I mean, they want to know, they want to get your opinion. You're a person, right? Like, where's your notebook? Show me your notebook. Revealing sources is still a sort of a difficult thing to explain, right? Not that you don't reveal your sources and stuff, but anyway, about car stuff, it's about uncovering things that the audience maybe didn't know about the thing that they're interested in. But yeah, sorry, I could just wind me up and we end up going for 15 minutes.
No, that's what we aim for. It's a pretty free form conversation here.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about car stuff.
Yeah.
So we were talking just a little bit before we started. You don't get to drive as many cars as you once did, driving everything new, but you still get in a couple every now and then, correct?
Once in a while. Yeah. I mean, although I have to say, like, for the last 18 months, it's been very few because I've been, I was head of content at Motorsport Network, and really a lot of that was about, it was business stuff, and it was just getting the company to run. So, I mean, I almost didn't, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, I go to, I went to the New York Auto Show and sat in everything and kind of tried to, but it's, yeah. So anyway, but we could, let's see what I know. You guys, I'll follow your lead.
Well, no, I was just going to say if there's anything like recently that's really impressed you that you're surprised about, but it sounds like you haven't gotten
to be honest, like all right, there are a couple of things. Here's a visceral one, is that I saw a Daytona, Charger Daytona. It was an electric one. And so I guess the inline sixes aren't coming out yet, or maybe it'll be soon, but
soon.
I saw one, and it's very impressive looking on the road. And I don't know whether I'm revealing my age, but like, I would buy one of those. Like, so if we're talking like as far as design goes, it has hit a spot where if you're, if you were originally dragged into this business by looking at muscle cars and were never really satisfied with the muscle car designs that were out there, right? The big chunky Challenger, Challenger's a big car, right? I mean, Mustangs, yeah, okay, sure. The Camaro was always this sort of big chunk fest. And I know why, right? And side impact and all kinds of other stuff. But somehow the Charger has found a place that has the presence on the street that really, really says something, right? I mean, it's not a car that I think is particularly influential right now. I think Stellantis is in a very big hole. I don't know how they're going to get out of it, but that is a bright spot. I don't know what is that like. I think that it's otherwise. I mean, what Kia's doing with EVs, I think, is a really interesting. What they're doing with design. They've always kind of led in design, but they're really going for it. The Hyundai Santa Fe, like, I saw one of those. I was like, wow, that looks like it could be the future from the 80s perspective, So it's like they're all. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy seeing. I mean, look, the electric car thing to me was really exciting. I I don't have a particular dog in the fight right now, but it's really I like inline sixes as well. So like, it's kind of neat to see that come back. Anyway, that's my sort of off the top of my head thing. In terms of technology, I don't know. What's the infotainment system to beat right now?
It's funny. It's probably still Stellantis, just because like you can.
Right.
It's maybe because I'm just familiar, but it's simple. That's what's so nice. You get all the little buttons at the bottom, either physical or touch. Everything's where you think it would be. It's still my favorite. Just quickly before we continue with that, to the vehicles you mentioned, it's funny. Santa Fe is a favorite of ours here at the show to drive too. It's just such a good value. And I've driven 2 Chargers, 4-door and 2-door, both electric. And I've said a 4-door inline 6. I can't wait, because like that's a car that maybe one day down the road I might get a nice big family car. I mean, they're big, very big, but they are a good car. Like they've done a really good job.
Yeah.
In the mechanics too. It's not just it looks cool; it drives really well. So,
yeah. I mean, the EV one, I went to the big thing that they did around Woodward Dream Cruise a few years ago when they announced that they showed it off, right, for the first time. And I was just blown away by the looks of it. It was such a strange moment, though, to see all the muscle car people there and see them react to this sort of visceral, oh man, that is really cool. And then like Tim Kuniskis kind of like, sort of holding court with his muscles, this and that. But then like them realizing like, oh, wait a minute, that's an EV. And there's this sort of weird vibe in the crowd where it's like, God, they had to keep bringing in like pro touring versions of older Mopar products, right? To kind of like keep them all excited. But it was a very weird time. And I don't know. I think it's a hard sell still.
It is proving to be. But I think once the 6s come, that car will sell well again, especially if they keep the pricing as what they mentioned. Yeah. Well, moving on to maybe some new or old cars. This is something we ask a lot of people. Is there a car that you've been after for a long time, or maybe recently now really want to get a hold of?
Well, what's funny? I've never owned an air-cooled 911, right? And then also I don't see myself as an air-cooled 911 guy, because I think the problem now is that, if you buy an air-cooled 911, first of all, you're paying it's at a level way beyond where we even thought it was going to be when we were predicting they were going to go up. Mm-hmm. But you sort of have to live the air-cooled 911 thing. You have to live it. You have to go to Luftgekühlt, you have to go to do all the other 911 stuff. So I feel like it's almost like become too much of an identity car. Even though I still want one and I want to own one at some point, I got to figure out which one. And is it like, can I get a 2.7 liter car but cheaper and then just live that experience for a little while and then sell it? I don't know. That's on the list, but I've just, I've never had one.
It's a good goal to have. I do know what you mean though about the, you're buying into a lifestyle at that point. I was on an event recently. It was Rancho Santa Fe, I want to say. So just north of San Diego. We went to the Cars and Coffee on the weekend, which was a really cool part to include in a launch event. And someone had an incredible 356 kit car. Mm. And he was telling people that the Porsche guys wouldn't let him park with them. Right. It was so nice. It sounded great. Didn't matter. They were like, no, you have to park over there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I saw one of those in Austin. I don't know who made the kit. It was, obviously, it's a Type 4 motor, a newer Type 4 motor under the would that be a boot or a bonnet at that point? Yeah. But yeah, you're right. And it's like the purist always ends up kind of alienating other people anyway, right? But Porsche has some purists that are like legendary. So I'm not really surprised by that. But yeah, I mean, and I think the other car for me is, I keep having dreams of making building a 308, like a Ferrari, not a Bertone 308, a Pininfarina 308, that is kind of like, who was the guy who did it he built it for SEMA, Mike, he with the Honda motor in it, did a really nice, like almost like a Liberty Walk kind of thing with it. But that's kind of where my head is right now. I would love to do like a hot rod 308.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it was a few years ago.
Yeah, it was yeah, exactly. Right. Great job. It was good content came out of it. He did a nice job, kind of like bringing everybody along in that build. I mean, that's where my kind of head is at, like hot rodding something weird. Not weird, but like he's already done that. But like I wanted to do a Pinto, like a really good, but like early Pinto build. There's a guy, who races SCCA, who brings his Pinto to Sebring every year, and I always forget. I've taken a million pictures of it. Purple, and it's cool. It's like like the Pinto, I think is aside from obviously the possibility of explosions and stuff, but like that's something that's the other place where my head is like, would I want to spend $100,000 on a G-body 911, or would I want to do something more interesting? I think I would like to do something more interesting with that money.
You're speaking right to me, because same thing is I've liked some old muscle cars, even the 90s cars now, like they're getting ridiculous. And you, like you said, it's a lifestyle. You got to research where to get the parts and go to swap meets. And whereas I'm like, I'd like to LS swap an SVX. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Oh,
and there's someone on the net case swapping a Hellcat right now, which is hilarious.
Oh my God. Well, case swap all the things is kind of becoming like I had a third gen MR2 that I really loved, and everybody else made fun of me relentlessly for years. And that was my last thing before I just sold it and said, I just don't have time for this thing. But like, a K swap would have been the move, I think, for that. But the problem is, like, if it had any more power and if it had limited slip, I understand why they didn't do limited slip, is because the car would spin in a second. It would just like, if it would spin off throttle, it would just be crazy. Anyway, yeah, I think something like that, a case swapped something, right? Something cool.
Yeah, something unusual.
Yeah. One other thing, like, it's sort of like, I wrote a piece for Road and Track a couple of years ago about no prep drag racing, right? Which is something that, it's just outside of what I've been kind of I've been around. I grew up with the street racing guys, but like, that's an interesting crew right now. I think they're doing interesting stuff. They're finding ways to make drag racing interesting to people and legal, and the betting is really fun. Like you pull the numbers out of the Crown Royal bag, and it's like they've got this whole fun thing. And I think that that's the thing, is they've really brought a lot of fun back to a thing that is illegal, but people want to be around stuff. They want to be live. I think this is sort of segueing into the thing where, yeah, cars and coffees are great, but like, I was just in Austin for the WEC race, and it rained, but it was like, there are a lot of people who go to sports car racing and not a lot of people who watch it. So it's like, you've got to, like, the whole live aspect of both motorsports and cars in general, I think, are, to me, starting to feel more relevant than content, and because there's so much content. And I know that it's a thing. It's a tough thing for us to kind of come to terms with. But I feel like people would rather be in front of it than watching it on YouTube at this point. Am I or like, is that way overstatement? But it's,
No, I think there's value there. Like, on one hand, the fact that we now have videos in our pocket, or video cameras in our pocket, it does make a lot of this more accessible than it used to be. But I think, yeah, it's still a barrier. Whereas, like, cars are getting not rarer, but it's becoming more important to actually have the experience than to just watch it on your screen. And I think that's encouraging. It's always great to see the next generation taking up stuff that we like, because we're like, oh, good, it'll survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think doing stuff like that is important, and I think that's something that the next generation is very much eschewing, is the all digital experience. They want more real experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's funny. It's hard to say, like, it's really, a lot of it is anecdotal, but I mean, there were a lot of kids with their parents at COTA last weekend. It's great to see that, being fans of small GT teams. Like, it's really neat. I mean, I think that's the thing about the smaller series, while F1 gets, a lot of the attention, where, like, the smaller series, you can still walk through the paddock and you could still meet the drivers, and you sort of, you could feel like you're rooting for a person and a team of people, and not just a brand or something. Brand has entered the chat, is, as a content person, my biggest fear, right? Because, brand, like, the impersonal stuff is dying, and it's going to keep doing that, right? Really, things that don't feel connected to people is just not gonna work. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep into media theory of the show, but, like, I think it sort of work. That's why I think the car world is still popping off, because it's about the community, whether it's online or people that you meet at whatever event you're at. Is that, there's so much in all of this stuff that we do. There's so much of it is about the social part. And whereas with gadgets and stuff, like, you could never see another person and be a gadget person, but, like, cars are this big, and you got to be somewhere where there are other human beings around. So anyway, that's, like, Car Week. I didn't go this year in Monterey, but it looked massive. I mean, there's just, I think that's what's great about the car scene.
Yeah. When people say youth or kids or whatever aren't into cars, it's like you're just not looking in the right spot.
Yeah.
Every generation finds a different thing they like. I mean, I remember when I was a teen into 20s, it was the height of the Nopi and Fast and Furious and all that, and they thought we were ridiculous putting body kits on cars and whatnot. I mean, we were. But we were super into cars, but the guys before us with their muscle cars were like, what are these kids doing? And then I remember when I hit my 30s and everyone started dancing cars, I was like, that's dumb. But that was a whole nother community, right?
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But Nopi is a great example, is that all of that, Hot Import Nights, all that stuff really brought people out, and it was fun. It was something to do. And there was, I feel like there was a period in the middle there where a lot of that went away, and everybody was sort of left with, online stuff. And then it sort of roared back because, like, they were just tired of being in the house. I mean, COVID, I think COVID worked in the favor of car culture, because people were able to get out, be in their cars, and then, go on a drive with a bunch of other people and still be separated in some way, but then also get, like, when they were also part of a group too. So yeah, I mean, it's still a fun thing. It's still a thing that I want to be part of. And I still get a kick out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's why so many of us still do this, right? It's like, we love it.
Yeah.
We love so many aspects of it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we should probably let you get back to your day.
Yeah.
So this is
we could
cool.
sit here and
Yeah.
talk for 7 hours, and
I know.
have you back on. For sure down the road many times because we
Yeah,
didn't get
anytime.
into hardly any topics.
I know.
There's so much we could talk about.
Yeah, we asked the one question that we ask every guest, and otherwise we just had the conversation, which is like kind of proving the point that we're getting at with all of this.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I mean,
that's good.
It's like, yeah, it's a good, it's funny because I think, you know, and I don't even remember what the question was because we went in so many different directions, but like, yeah, this is the fun part, right? I mean, this really is this is why I love talking about cars with people. And that was what everything I've ever done was based on that, whether it was Drive or Jalopnik or anything was about, you know, talking about cars with people. And I think that really ended up being, kind of luckily the best part of doing this for this long is that you just get to meet so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. So just before we let you go, is there somewhere people can find you these days?
Nope. LinkedIn. I don't know. We'll see what happens next. Sort of. I don't know where the balloon's going to land next. I mean, I'm working with my buddies at Tangent Vector, like I have done on and off for 17 years. Yeah, we're working on a couple of things that will probably be out soon. But yeah, other than that, I'm just sort of, you know, like just chilling out. Trying not to just eat everything all the time because that's the problem with being sort of in between jobs. You sort of are knocking around the house, sort of looking at ordering stuff and eating it. But you know, hopefully we'll keep that under control.
All right. Well, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said,
Yeah.
we'll definitely have you on again. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of people out there looking to get you on their team.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what's next. I'll keep you guys posted. But
All
yeah,
right.
great to see you guys again. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It was
Hey,
great.
thanks, Mike.
All right.
Mike.
All right. Welcome back. We once again have Colum joining us to talk F1. And a lot happened in a week, as is usually the case. And there's a little bit of controversy.
There's always controversy, which is good. It's good to have controversy versus no controversy. This is the I was curious even to get your take on the Oscar giving his spot back to Lando in the end of the race and whether or not that was warranted or not. I have my opinions, but what do you think? Are you?
I think I get why they did it because, I mean, the team screwed up and they felt bad. It's not like there's a history that's happening to him. I could see if this is like the fourth time, like, okay, let's give a spot back. But yeah, I mean, I see it from both sides. Not for once, but recently Lando hasn't been in control of the situation. So he kind of was doing better and then his team messed it up. I remember this happened to Oscar a while ago, like way back, might have been last year. And they gave the spot back to him. And I remember Lando was not happy and they didn't know if Lando was going to do it. I remember too. And he did it very last minute.
Yeah, there was a long discussion that I remember between the drivers going back and forth, and I felt like, this brought back memories of that as well for me.
So there's a precedent, so I get why they did it. I mean, if they didn't have such a lead driver-wise, it's almost like they're just throwing Lando a bone. Like, what are we talking? 2 points difference on a 30-something point lead. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they needed to do it. The best part of this whole thing is seeing all the online memes and stuff after it. Like my favorite one was something like, Oscar, Lando's broken up with his girlfriend, so to be fair, you need to break up with yours now.
I was going to bring up the exact thing. I made up the exact. So I agree. I think it's silly. I was looking at it because I saw it, like the radios there where Max Verstappen's engineer radioed him and basically told him the whole situation. And he was like, he would never have given it up. Like, it doesn't matter if he was like, 100 points ahead. He's like, nope, not doing it. And I do think that it's easier for Oscar to give it back because he feels, I think, pretty comfortable. And it's actually kind of a macho move, but you could also really come to regret that later on. Like, imagine you did that and then you DNF the next race and Lando wins and all of a sudden, like, you're behind in the championship. You'd be like, damn, right? Like,
yeah, no, I agree. If this was like a 5, even a 10-point spread, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I mean, if the team, like, they messed up, They shouldn't have, like, I know you make mistakes in pit stops. Maybe you should swap the order of when they came in then, if you're that concerned about it.
Yeah, but to me, it's like there's jeopardy in every pit stop. I just feel like to me, I honestly think if I was Piastri, I would not have wanted to give it back because I'm like, look, it's not my fault that it screwed up, and it's not even necessarily the team. It's just the way things worked out. Like somebody could have put a wheel there, or something else could have happened. There could have been a safety car. Who knows, right? That could have messed the whole thing up. So it seems pretty weird. I feel like so far the no number one driver strategy is working for McLaren, but you just feel like it's a ticking time bomb, right? And somebody will get upset, and it won't end well for one of them. And it's like I think back to the, was it Weber and Vettel at Red Bull? The controversies there. So
Prost.
Yeah. Like it's going to happen. I'm just waiting for it. And maybe it won't even happen this season because if Piastri can stay ahead far enough, then it avoids any problems.
Yeah, they're so dominant this year. I don't think this year it will happen. Like you said, unless there's like suddenly 2 DNFs from Piastri, but then that's a different issue. Like it doesn't have to do with this unless Norris takes him out. But and like next year this could happen doing that. I also get the small argument. This keeps Norris ahead of Verstappen, who's winning the race and gaining points, and they want to keep him in second. But there's a decent lead there too. But again, second to third isn't a great deal of points. If it was like Verstappen was second and Norris was either going to win or come third, there's a big difference. But
yeah, they want to get him up there. So
they want to be 1-2, and I mean they've already got the constructors, which we'll talk about in a second. Like that's, I think they could pretty much double DNF the rest of the races. And they probably still win.
I think I think that the stats are something that they could actually do that, like not show up until like the last race of the season and still win the championship.
I mean, they could maybe clinch next week already.
Yes, well, I think that's my next slide. So that's there they are with their outrageous advantage of 617 to 280 points, which is nuts. And I think I ran some stats on. So first of all, I guess it's their they can win the championship in Baku. So long as they beat Ferrari by 9 points, and assuming Mercedes doesn't outscore them by 12 points or Red Bull by 33 points. And then that will be a record winning the championship with 7 races to spare. That's basically never happened before. So,
like I was gonna say, even in Mercedes dominant days, Ferraris before that, Red Bulls recently, they never had this. But that's because we just kind of said Red Bull, McLaren kind of has 2 number 1 drivers, 2 drivers that could go on any team and be really good. And it's not like the other teams didn't. It's just they had a clear 1-2, and the 2, especially in Red Bull, struggled often.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then Ferrari, Leclerc's been doing well, but Hamilton's kind of struggled, and then Mercedes, Antonelli started the season pretty good, but has been pretty mediocre since then. So
even when Hamilton didn't win and came second to his teammate, there was still a good battle with other drivers that year. It wasn't like the 2 of them were miles ahead, and most of Hamilton's wins too. I mean, when he was dominant, Bottas wasn't always necessarily right there. No. So. Yeah, this season's crazy. I wonder at what point too. I guess Verstappen's still kind of hanging on, but I wonder at what point too it's clinched that it's going to be a McLaren champion, just a matter of who.
Oh, so I did the stats. This is the joys of ChatGPT, is that they could do the funny math. I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to. So here's the only way Verstappen wins the championship and not McLaren, which is like an outrageous idea. He has to win every race, and Piastri has to collect less than 106 points, which is roughly 13.25 points per race, or basically 4th or lower. So for Verstappen to win the championship, he has to win and every single race, and Piastri has to come 4th or worst, and Lando has to be 2nd or worst. So,
well, I guess he's coming second if Verstappen's winning. So if Verstappen wins every race, he's going to beat Lando no matter what.
He could if he wins every single race, but that's basically the gist of it. It's kind of
So he has to win every race, and Piastri realistically probably needs to DNF 1 or 2 because he's probably going to come second or third in a lot of those races. So.
Well, the DNFs, I mean, they matter huge, right? Like, it's the difference because like first and second, it's like 8 points, right? But a DNF, you're tossing away more than like 3 races worth of points. So that's a lot.
Where would Lando be if he didn't run into Piastri and take himself out? And if his chassis didn't break 2 races ago.
I love it. Nobody buys it. Nobody buys it.
Like that's, we were talking probably 30 points at least, if not more.
Yep.
He's lost there. So yeah. And then we'd have a real controversy between the two. But you know what? Piastri wins this year. Good for him. And then Lando can try next year. And like you said, the number one driver thing becomes an issue, or does it? Because
there you go. So this is it's funny. We were talking about, things blowing up. If things go poorly for one of the drivers, one of them might want to leave. And so this is the most unsubstantiated rumor I've come across in a while, that Ferrari is apparently interested in Piastri as a Hamilton replacement when Hamilton's contract runs out. Like I think
that's a while still.
Well, no, I think it's just next year. Like he runs.
Oh, it's only 2 years?
I think Hamilton just has a 2-year contract. So he's this year and next year. And then I think there's an extension, like a possibility, but I feel like
it's not going to happen.
I feel like
the way
Hamilton,
things are going.
Yeah, if he doesn't do better next year, he's not going to want to stick around, right? And there's nowhere else to go, so he'll retire. And I'm sure, like, that's Ferrari almost has this problem of like they can't just hire anybody, right? They can't just fill a seat. They can't just like hire a Pierre Gasly. Like that just doesn't work. They need to hire somebody who is somebody. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe they could bring in, like, as long as they have Leclerc, they can bring in somebody who's mediocre. But I think they need a top tier driver. Generally, they want 2 top tier drivers, and so they could go. So this rumor is basically a Italian journalist said that he understands from inside Ferrari that they're eyeing Piastri, but that's like 2 stages of hearsay. Right. So
it's like everyone's saying Verstappen's moving. Maybe if Hamilton goes back to Mercedes and Toto for a reunion to end his career. Well, they also signed Max, and I don't know where George goes then, but
yeah.
Imagine if F1 didn't have a 2-car limit, like it was like NASCAR, Indy, where the big teams could have as many as they want. Ferrari would have like 5 top tier drivers out there just trying to collect as many points as possible.
Yeah, that'd be maybe that's what they need. That'd be fun.
Or they could have 2 teams like Red Bull. Oh no, wait.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, final story.
Although I have a little tidbit at the end, although I don't know if we talked about it before, but yes, this is interesting. This is the going way back to, what is it, 08? Or is it 2010? I can't remember. Basically that Felipe Massa is he's been fighting and putting together the steps for a long time to try and sort of have a court look at the fact that he thinks he should have won the 2008 championship. Because I was just looking at something that so it was Hamilton won that year, and it really was Massa actually had it, and he and his family thought they had won the world championship, and then Hamilton, because of the position he came in, actually won by just 1 point. And it all ties into the fact that there's Crashgate was that year. And I guess Hamilton picked up extra points in Crashgate when they think he shouldn't have, because of how the teams finished. And that basically Massa is sort of basically having a court case to say that the FIA should have like tossed out some of the points earlier from some of the other drivers, and that would have jiggered things around, and Massa would end up being world champion. So he's fighting for it, and he's trying to have it still. So we'll see if that happens. Apparently there's an actual court date set in October 28th to 31st. And there'll be people from the FIA, and Bernie Ecclestone will be there, and all kinds of stuff. So
I'm fascinated by what happens here and how it works, because like F1's a sport like any sport, and maybe the wrong call was made at the time, but like, how do you go back and fix all this? Are we going to go back in baseball and football with instant replay now and look at all the calls that were wrong over the last 60 years, 80 years, and say, oh, no, this game changes, so then this playoff should have changed?
Agreed. I don't think there's no way they overturn this. Like, it's great as a court case, but I just don't see it happening. And even if they do overturn it, like you'd have to say like, okay, like we give you something, but we're not taking away Hamilton's championship, right? Like that seems like a unjust situation. It's not like he was the one doing dirty things. It was another team. So it's true. It's like he would really just be like, he's like, what? Why am I getting screwed here? So it's interesting. The only other tidbit of info I had was, and I don't know if we discussed this before, that for the Max Verstappen fans out there, that he is in fact racing this weekend when the podcast goes live. So he'll have already raced at the Nürburgring in a GT3 spec. I think Porsche Cayman is the idea. So because the plan is he has to do this to get his official ability to enter the Nürburgring 24-hour race next year. And because I've seen some more photos lately, I think you had a theory that it might be racing a Ford, and I kind of like that. I feel like that would be a Ford thing to do, and I feel like that's a motivating factor here. So yeah.
Like I said, the insurance and liability is massive. So Ford could say like, yeah, we'll cover it.
Yeah.
He's racing our car next year. Well, not our car, but our engine next year. So we'll cover whatever $10 billion liability we're Ford.
Whereas, to have Verstappen in a Mustang GTD or whatever, whipping everybody's butt on the Nürburgring, they would that's worth a lot of pennies. So yeah, a lot of euros.
So, and while we're writing sports wrong, just to wrap this up, I guess you should go back and give Galarraga his no-hitter in Detroit that was robbed from, or perfect game. Perfect game.
There you go. Yeah,
and the Sabres can get their 99 Stanley Cup back from Brett Hull having his foot in the crease. So there.
I like how if we give you 2 more minutes, you might have a few more of those.
Yeah, trying to think of some more where it was like terrible calls. Well, I mean, being a Toronto native, we did get a high stick from Gretzky in those semifinals. It was, yeah.
There you go. You could bring like 6 more next week. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure next week we'll have enough F1 to talk about. Be interesting to see about this, what you're talking about with the Nürburgring race and what happens at McLaren, if anything. And maybe we'll have a champion soon. Yeah,
I suspect we will.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Especially with the way Ferrari's been lately. So
cool. Sounds great.
All right. Well, have a good week, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. See you, Mike.
Okay, so we're just about to wrap things up here on the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. We'll just take a quick look at what we're doing this week and next week. So, Kyle, we talked about you were driving the Leaf, not here for a lot of this week, and now you're back. What are you driving?
So I have 2 things, one of which was very last minute, but obviously I would not say no to it. But first, I'm driving the Ford Maverick XLT hybrid all-wheel drive. Pretty much the ideal Maverick for the new model. So it was facelifted this year. I drove it a couple months back on the launch. And so this is the mid-level trim. It's the all-wheel drive hybrid. So it's what everyone was asking for. And yeah, it's I'll save my thoughts for later. But yeah, I mean, the thing that I've said since the Maverick debuted, it's more or less enough truck for what most people need.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, complete opposite end of the spectrum. We have a Lamborghini Revuelto parked downstairs right now. I had to literally measure the speed bumps around my neighborhood to make sure that it was okay to bring, and it costs more than my condo. It is 1,001 horsepower. It is the V12 with 3 electric motors. It is a bright neon green. It's very Lamborghini. You and I have driven a few Lamborghinis over the years, and this is my first non-SUV. It is wild. I had to watch a bunch of videos before I got in it to understand how to operate it, and I'm gonna go show it off to my nieces and nephews and my family over the weekend, because that's what you do with silly cars. You share the love.
Coolest uncle ever. So I'm in something not like either of those two. I am in the BMW 540i Legacy, which is interesting. It's as we've said before, it's the only 540i in Canada. I mean, you have one in the States, so it's nice because it was like 4-cylinder or V8 here. There's no 6 in the middle, so it's nice to have that. It's Legacy. It's got the throwback blue paint from the 540i of the 90s. Other than that, and the badging, which is kind of cool, has the old 540i badge.
Oh, nice.
Other than that, there's like no throwback. Like it's just paint and badge. But the 5 Series is such a nice car, and this engine is probably the best one for it. The 8's overkill. It's not like the 4-cylinder's underpower, but you expect some performance, and this has more than you need. So far, I really enjoy it. And of course, it's 5 Series and it's super smooth. This isn't car specific. This is a BMW specific, and it even extends to their minis. I hate how they force you into their drive modes and experiences, and you can't customize anything anymore. It's like, pick this or pick that. And then within there's so little you can actually change. Like, I liked being able to set up my own personal one. It's like, personal. I can turn stability on and off.
Thanks.
Because I was going to say, like, the last few BMWs that I drove were M's, and you can customize.
Oh, M's are different, yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, like I never thought about that. With regular ones, you can't.
I can be expressive or sport or calm or all of, yeah. I mean, it looks cool, and the way that does the ambient lighting and the screens is really cool. But
yeah.
I'll save the rest of my opinions of it later. Next week we will be in new vehicles.
Yes.
I think. Are you actually in town next week?
No, but I do have a press car lined up because I travel for a short thing in the middle of the week. So I'm going to drive the Mazda MX-5 Miata 35th Anniversary Edition. So it has some unique touches, and I'm excited because everyone should drive a Miata on a fairly regular basis in this job because it is an ultimate palate cleanser. And then I'm traveling to California to drive some Toyota GR products on the track.
Sounds like a boring week.
It's going to be tough, but I'll power through.
I am trading in my 5 Series for a Mini 5 Series, the BMW Mini 5-door. So I know it's just the Mini 5-door, but they're so similar now. And I've driven the Countryman, the convertible. I guess I'd have driven the 2-door, but the Countryman was the electric one too. Yeah, and I've always been a fan of minis. I don't know if it's my thing in the sense of I'd buy one, but I totally get the appeal and I enjoy driving them. So I'm looking forward to this because this is it's crazy to say this, but it's one of the few sort of compact 4-doors left on the market. And if you say a 5-door with a hatchback, it's very rare. So especially its size. I mean, there's Civics and stuff, but they're like mid-sized now. They've grown so much. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like.
I'm excited. You're our resident Mini expert at this point. So
it seems to be, yeah. So anyway, that wraps up another episode of the Auto Guide Show. We will be back next week with more stories, a ton more reviews, and some new guests. So until then, we will see you later.
So long, everybody.
eBay has reinvented car buying. From click to curb, everything is covered. Ever try to buy your car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger on blind trust? That era is over. Now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.